when investigative journalist Maya Chen discovers her business partner's deadly secrets. She's thrust into a world of corporate conspiracy, human experimentation, and impossible choices. What starts as a simple betrayal becomes a haunting exploration of love, justice, and what it truly means to be human. Hey there, romance lovers! Tonight we dive into a world where every choice has a cost and every moment matters. Let's dig an asterisk. The rain hammered against the floor-to-ceiling windows of the abandoned warehouse, each drop exploding like gunfire against the glass. Maya Chen pressed her back against the cold concrete wall, her breath forming small clouds in the frigid air. The USB drive in her jacket pocket felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. She shouldn't be here, not at midnight, not alone. What she'd discovered, the heavy door creaked open, and she tensed. Footsteps echoed through the empty space, deliberate and confident. A shadow moved across the rain-streaked windows. "No, you're here, Maya." The voice belonged to Ethan Cross, her former business partner, the man who'd betrayed everything they'd built together, the man whose secrets could destroy them both. She stepped out of the shadows, her dark hair still damped from the storm outside. "You came. Did I have a choice?" Ethan's suit was soaked, his usually perfect appearance disheveled. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, and she noticed his hands trembling slightly. "You said you had something that belonged to me." Maya pulled the USB drive from her pocket, holding it up like a weapon. "Everything's on here, Ethan. Every transaction, every lie, every person you've killed to keep your precious empire intact." His jaw tightened. "You don't understand what you're dealing with. I understand perfectly." Her voice cracked, despite her efforts to stay strong. "I understand that the man I trusted, the man I loved, is nothing but a monster wearing a designer suit." Lightning split the sky outside, illuminating the warehouse in stark white light. For a moment, she saw past his carefully constructed facade to the broken man underneath. The one who'd held her while she cried. The one who'd promised they'd change the world together. "Maya, please." He took a step closer, and she noticed the gun holstered beneath his jacket. "Give me the drive. We can work this out. It's like we worked out Jessica's murder, like we worked out the cover-up." Tears mixed with rainwater on her cheeks. "I won't be your accomplice anymore. You already are." His words hit her like a physical blow. "Your fingerprints are on everything. Your signature's on half the documents. If I go down, you go down with me." The truth of his words settled in her stomach like ice. She'd been so focused on exposing him that she hadn't considered her own complicity. 5 years of partnership. 5 years of looking the other way while he built his empire on blood and lies. "Then we both burn," she whispered. Ethan's composure finally cracked. "You have no idea what you're destroying, what we're destroying. There are people who will kill us both if this gets out." She backed toward the window, the USB drive still clutched in her fist. "Maybe that's what we deserve. Maya, stop." His voice turned desperate, almost pleading. "There's something else. Something you don't know about your sister's death." The words froze her blood. Sarah had died 2 years ago in a car accident. A random tragedy that had shattered Maya's world and driven her deeper into her work with Ethan. "What did you say? It wasn't an accident?" Ethan's face was pale in the lightning's glow. "I'm sorry, God, I'm so sorry. But if you release that information, they'll know she was getting close to the truth. They'll know I couldn't stop her in time." The warehouse spun around her. The USB drive slipped from her numb fingers and clattered to the concrete floor. "You killed my sister. I didn't kill her." Ethan's words came out strangled, desperate. "Maya, I swear to you, I tried to protect her." Maya's vision blurred with rage and grief. She lunged for the USB drive, but Ethan was faster. His hand closed over hers, trapping her fingers against the cold concrete. "Let me explain. Get away from me." She fought against his grip, but he was stronger, always stronger. "You lying piece of garbage." Sarah was investigating Blackwater Industries. She'd connected them to the missing persons cases you've been tracking. His breath was hot against her ear as he held her down. "She called me the night she died, said she had evidence that would bring down everyone involved." Maya stopped struggling. The missing persons cases had been her obsession for months. 12 people vanished without a trace, all connected to Blackwater's research facilities. All dismissed by the police as runaways or accidents. She was going to meet with someone. A source inside Blackwater. Ethan's grip loosened slightly. I begged her to wait for backup, to let me handle it. But you didn't protect her. Maya's voice was hollow. You let her die. I was too late. The pain in his voice sounded genuine, but she couldn't trust anything about him anymore. By the time I got there, her car was already in the river. Maya rolled away from him, grabbing the USB drive. Her sister's face flashed through her memory. Sarah's laugh. Her fierce determination to expose the truth, no matter the cost. Who killed her? Ethan stood slowly, his expensive shoes scraping against the concrete. The same people who'll kill us both if we don't handle this carefully. Thunder crashed overhead, shaking the warehouse windows. Maya could hear sirens in the distance, growing. Closer, you called the police. No, Ethan's face went white. I didn't call anyone. The sirens were definitely heading their way now. Maya's mind raced through the possibilities. Someone had been watching them, someone who knew about their meeting. We have to go. Ethan grabbed her arm. Now, I'm not going anywhere with you. Maya, listen to me. If they find us together with that drive, we're both dead. Whatever you think of me, whatever I've done, I won't let them kill you too. The warehouse doors exploded inward. Black tactical gear. Military precision. Maya recognized the Blackwater logo on their Kevlar vests. Down on the ground. Now. Maya looked at Ethan, seeing her own terror reflected in his eyes. In that moment, all their history collapsed into a single, desperate truth. They needed each other to survive. The fire. Escape, Ethan whispered. They ran. Maya's heels echoed against the metal stairs as bullets shattered the windows behind them. Ethan's hand found hers in the darkness, pulling her up toward the roof. Why are you helping me? She gasped. 'Cause I love you. His confession came out raw and honest. Because I've loved you since the day we met, and I've been too much. Of a coward to tell you. They burst through the roof access door into the storm. Rain lashed their faces as searchlights swept across the neighboring buildings. Maya could hear helicopters approaching there. Ethan pointed to a narrow gap between their building and the next. We can make it. That's a 15-foot jump, trust me. Maya looked down at the USB drive in her hand. All the evidence against him, all the proof of his crimes. The key to justice for her sister and all the others who died. She also looked at the man beside her, broken, desperate, maybe truthful for the first time in years. The choice would define everything that came next. Together, she said. Jumped into the storm. Leaving their old lives shattered on the warehouse floor below, they made it across the gap by inches. Landing hard on the adjacent rooftop, Maya's shoulders screamed in pain, but Ethan hauled her to her feet before she could process the injury. Safe house, he panted. I know a place. How do I know you're not leading me into a trap? 'Cause if I wanted you dead, I would have let them take you back there. The logic was sound, but trust felt impossible. They moved across the rooftops like ghosts, staying low to avoid the searchlights. Maya's mind kept returning to Sarah's final phone call 2 years ago. I'm onto something big, Maya. Something that's going to change everything. She'd thought her sister was being dramatic. Sarah always was. The safe house turned out to be a studio apartment above a Chinese restaurant in Chinatown. Sparse furniture. Reinforced windows. Cash hidden in the walls. How long have you been planning this? Maya demanded. Years. Ethan locked 3 separate deadbolts behind them. Ever since I realized what Blackwater was really doing. Which is... He moved to the window, peering through blackout curtains at the empty street below. Human trafficking. But not for sex or labor. For experiments. Maya's blood went cold. The missing persons cases? All volunteers. Desperate people who thought they were signing up for medical trials. Instead, they became test subjects for something called Project Lazarus. What kind of experiments? Ethan turned from the window, and she saw genuine horror in his eyes. Resurrection. Blackwater thinks they can bring people back from the dead. Room spun around her. She sat down hard on the single bed. The USB drive still clutched in her trembling hand. That's impossible, is it? You've seen the footage on that drive. Bodies walking around after clinical death. Subjects following commands with no higher brain function. His voice dropped to a whisper. They're making zombies, Maya, and they're getting better at it. She thought about the files she'd collected. Autopsy reports that didn't make sense. Security footage of empty morgues. Death certificates for people who'd been seen walking around weeks later. Sarah figured it out. Sarah was brilliant. Too brilliant. Ethan sat beside her on the bed, careful not to touch her. She'd identified the pattern before anyone else. The geographic clustering, the demographic targeting. She knew Blackwater was harvesting people. So they killed her. They tried to make it look like an accident, but I knew better. His hands clenched into fists. I should have protected her, should have made her listen. Maya studied his face in the dim light. The guilt there seemed genuine. But she'd been fooled by him before. You said you loved me? I do. When did it start? Ethan was quiet for a long moment. The first time I saw you cry, you'd just lost a case. Some corporate whistleblower who got murdered before he could testify. You were so angry at the injustice of it all. She remembered that night. How he'd brought her coffee and sat with her in the office until dawn. Nice. I was being a coward. He finally looked at her directly. I knew I was already in too deep with Blackwater. Knew that loving you would put you in danger. But I couldn't stay away. The confession hung between them like a bridge across. A chasm. Maya wanted to believe him, but trust felt like a luxury she couldn't afford. Her phone buzzed. A text message from an unknown number. We have your apartment surrounded. Come out peacefully and Mr. Cross lives. Continue running and we kill him slowly. She showed Ethan the screen. His face went ashen. They don't just want the drive, he said quietly. They want both of us. Why? 'Cause together, we know too much. Separately, we're just loose ends they can tie up quietly. He stood and moved to a hidden panel in the wall, revealing an arsenal of weapons. But together, we're a threat. Maya watched him check the magazine of a pistol with practiced efficiency. You're not the man I thought you were. No, he agreed. I'm worse. But right now, I'm the only thing standing between you and them. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was a photo. Her apartment building. Armed figures in tactical gear surrounding every exit. They're not giving us much choice. Ethan handed her a gun. I need you to know something before this gets worse. What? The night Sarah died, she wasn't just investigating Blackwater. She was investigating me. His voice broke. She knew I was involved. She was trying to save you from me. Maya's world tilted on its axis. Her sister hadn't just been seeking justice. She'd been trying to protect her. Now she's dead because of it. Now she's dead because I was too selfish to walk away from you when I should have. The building shook as something exploded in the street below. Through the curtains, Maya could see flames reflecting off the wet pavement. They're here, Ethan whispered. Maya looked at the gun in her hand, then at the man beside her. The man who'd destroyed everything she'd believed in. The man who might be the only person who could help her get justice for Sarah. The man she might still love. Despite everything, what do? We fight our way out. His eyes met hers, together. The front door exploded inward, just as she made her choice. The first mercenary through the door. Took Maya's bullet in the chest. She'd never killed anyone before, but her hands remained steady as she and Ethan fought their way toward the fire escape. Move. Ethan shoved her behind an overturned table as automatic weapons fire shredded the apartment walls. They made it. To the window. Ethan kicked out the reinforced glass while Maya provided cover fire. Her shots were precise, controlled. Sarah had taught her well during those weekend trips to the gun range. I'm sorry about your sister, Ethan said as they climbed onto the fire escape. About everything, save the apologies. Maya's voice was ice. Just get us out of this. They descended into the alley behind the restaurant. The smell of garbage and grease filled the air, mixing with the acrid smoke from the burning building across the street. Cars this way. But as they rounded the corner, Maya saw the trap. Black SUVs at both ends of the alley. Men with guns. Emerging from the shadows, we're surrounded. Not yet. Ethan grabbed her hand and pulled her toward a manhole cover. City maintenance tunnels. I mapped them years ago. Of course you did. They dropped into the darkness just as the alley filled with muzzle flashes. The tunnels were a maze of concrete and rusted pipes. Maya's heels echoed in the enclosed space until Ethan made her take off her shoes. Where are we going? Grand. Central. There's a way out through the subway system. They moved through the tunnels for what felt like hours. Maya's feet were numb with cold, and her shoulder throbbed where she'd landed on the rooftop. But she kept moving, driven by thoughts of Sarah and the justice that had died with her. I need to know something, she said finally. What? Did you ever love Sarah too? Ethan stopped walking. In the dim light from his phone's flashlight, his face looked haggard and older than his 35 years. No, but I respected her. She was everything you said she was. Brilliant, fearless, incorruptible. Everything I'm not. Everything. You are. He touched her face gently. Sarah saw the same strength in you that I see. That's why she was so determined to get you away from me. Maya pulled back from his touch. Don't. I know you hate me. You should hate me. But we need to work together if we're going to survive this. Survive to do what? Run for the rest of our lives. Survive to finish what Sarah started. His voice gained strength. The USB drive has everything we need to expose Project Lazarus. But we need more than just evidence. We need someone on the inside. Someone like who? Someone like Dr. Elizabeth Kane. She runs the resurrection program for Blackwater. She's also my ex-wife. Maya felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. Your what? It ended 2 years ago, right around the time Sarah started her investigation. Ethan's expression was unreadable. Elizabeth knows where the test subjects are being held. She knows how to stop the experiments. And she'll just help us because you ask nicely. No. She'll help us because she's been planning her own escape for months. She just needs someone she can trust to help her disappear. Someone she can trust? You mean you? I mean us. Ethan's eyes met hers. Elizabeth won't deal with me alone. Too much history. But she might deal with both of us. Maya's mind raced. Another player in the game. Another variable she hadn't accounted for. What aren't you telling me about your ex-wife? She's brilliant, dangerous, and she's been dosing herself with the resurrection serum for the past 6 UCs. Months. The tunnel seemed to close in around them. What does that mean? It means she's technically dead, Maya. Her heart stopped 3 weeks ago during a lab accident. But she's still walking around, still thinking, still planning. Ethan's voice dropped to a whisper. And she wants revenge against the people who turned her into a monster. Sound echoed through the tunnel behind them. Footsteps, multiple sets, moving fast. They found us. This way. Ethan grabbed her hand and pulled her deeper into the maze. Elizabeth's lab is only a few blocks from here. If we can reach her before they reach us, we might have a chance. Maya looked back at the darkness pursuing. Then ahead at the unknown, waiting in Dr. Kane's laboratory. What makes you think we can trust her? Because she has nothing left to lose. Ethan's grip on her hand tightened. Just like us. They ran toward the light at the end of the tunnel, toward answers and betrayals Maya couldn't yet imagine. Behind them, the footsteps grew closer. Dr. Elizabeth Kane was beautiful in the way that broken things sometimes are. Pale skin stretched. Over sharp cheekbones, dark eyes that held depths Maya couldn't fathom. And an unnatural stillness that made every movement seem deliberate. Hello, Ethan. Her voice carried no warmth. I wondered when you'd come. They'd found her in her private laboratory beneath Blackwater's main facility, walls lined with specimen jars, computer screens displaying brain scans and neural activity patterns. The smell of formaldehyde and something else Maya couldn't identify. Elizabeth, we need your help, do you? She moved with fluid grace toward a control panel. Or do you need me to clean up another one of your messes? Maya stepped forward. USB drive visible in her hand. We have evidence. About Project Lazarus. About what they've done to innocent people. Elizabeth's gaze shifted to Maya, and she felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature. Those eyes were too knowing, too ancient for a woman who couldn't be older than 40. Innocent people, Elizabeth laughed, but the sound held no humor. Like me? Elizabeth, I'm sorry about what happened to you, about the accident. Accident? Elizabeth's smile was sharp as a blade. Is that what you told her, Ethan? That it was an accident? Maya felt the pieces clicking together in her mind. The betrayals. Within betrayals, the lies wrapped around half-truths. It wasn't an accident, she said quietly. Very good. Elizabeth moved closer, and Maya noticed that she cast no shadow under the harsh laboratory lights. Your boyfriend here needed a test subject for the refined serum. Someone with intimate knowledge of the process, someone expendable. Maya's gun was in her hand before she realized she'd drawn it, pointed not at Elizabeth, but at Ethan. You killed her too. Maya, let me explain. No more explanations. Her voice was steady despite the rage burning in her chest. No more lies. You used me to get to Sarah. You used Elizabeth to perfect your precious serum. How many people have you killed? All of them, Elizabeth answered for him. Everyone who got close to the truth. Everyone who trusted him. She moved to a computer terminal and began typing, including you, dear Maya. You've been dead for 3 days. The laboratory spun around her. What? The warehouse? Fall from the building? You didn't survive it. Elizabeth's fingers danced. Across the keyboard? Ethan brought your body here immediately. I've been keeping you animated while he figured out what to do with you. Maya looked down at her hands. The same hands that had held the gun. The same hands that had killed the mercenary. In the apartment? But now she noticed the waxy quality of her skin, the absence of sensation she'd attributed to shock and adrenaline. That's impossible, is it? You haven't eaten in 3 days? Haven't slept? Haven't felt physical pain despite multiple injuries? Elizabeth's smile was triumphant and sad. The dead don't need such things. Ethan stepped toward her, his face stricken. Maya, I can explain. Stay back. But her gun hand was trembling now, not with emotion, but with the gradual shutdown of motor functions. The serum is wearing off, Elizabeth observed clinically. You have perhaps 10 minutes of consciousness left. Maya's mind raced through the past 3 days. The perfect clarity of thought, the absence of fear during the firefights. The way Ethan had looked at her when he thought she wasn't watching. Not with love, but with guilt and horror. Why? The word came out as barely a whisper. Because I needed you to choose. Ethan's voice broke. I needed you to choose me over justice. To choose love over truth. And you did, didn't you? When we jumped from that building together? I'm dead. You're more than that. Elizabeth pulled up a brain scan on her monitor. Look at this, Maya. Your neural patterns are more complex than any subject we've ever tested. Death didn't diminish you. It enhanced you. Maya stared at the scan. The bright patterns of electrical activity that somehow belonged to her. What am I? The first successful resurrection. Elizabeth's voice held genuine wonder. The first subject. To retain full cognitive function, emotional capacity, and moral reasoning after death. And what does that make me immortal? Immune to disease? Capable of processing information at superhuman speeds? Elizabeth turned from the computer. You're the future, Maya. The next step in human evolution. Maya looked at the USB drive in. Her other hand, all the evidence against Blackwater, against Ethan, against the people who had murdered her sister and countless others. What about justice? What about it? Elizabeth moved to a wall safe and began entering a combination. The dead don't get justice. They get revenge. From the safe, she pulled out a vial of amber liquid. This is the master serum. Enough to resurrect every test subject Blackwater has ever killed. Enough to build an army of the betrayed and the murdered. Maya understood now the choice Elizabeth was offering. The choice Ethan had been leading her toward all along. You want me to help you raise the dead? I want you to help them get justice? Elizabeth held out the vial, starting with, your sister. The laboratory fell silent except for the hum of machinery and the distant sound of footsteps in the corridors above. Blackwater's security forces searching for them. Maya looked at Ethan, at the man who had loved her enough to kill her. At Elizabeth, the brilliant scientist who had transcended death only to discover that some betrayals followed you beyond the grave. Sarah wouldn't want this, Maya said finally. She believed in justice, not revenge. Then what do you believe in? Maya raised the USB drive and her gun simultaneously. The evidence in one hand, the weapon in the other. I believe in choice. Pulled the trigger. Not at Ethan or Elizabeth, but at the computer servers lining the walls. Sparks flew as decades of research disappeared in cascades of electric fire. Maya, what are you doing? Ending it. She turned the gun toward the vial in Elizabeth's hand. All of it. Elizabeth moved with inhuman speed, but Maya was faster. The shot shattered the vial and sent the amber serum spreading across the laboratory floor. You've doomed them all, Elizabeth whispered. Every person Blackwater killed, they'll stay dead forever. Maybe that's how it should be. Maya felt her consciousness beginning to fade as the resurrection serum left her system. Maybe some prices are too high to pay. Ethan caught her as she fell, his arms strong and warm around her failing body. I love you, he whispered against her hair. I know.
Ow.
Maya looked up at him one last time, seeing past the monster to the broken man underneath. That's why this hurts so much. She pressed the USB drive into his hand. Promise me you'll use this the right way. Promise me you'll give them justice, not revenge. I promise. Maya smiled as her vision faded. She'd made her choice. Not between love and justice, but for something more important than either. She'd chosen truth. The last thing she heard was the sound of sirens outside, growing closer. The last thing she saw was Ethan's face, streaked with tears for a woman he'd loved enough to lose. The end.